Hello, this is Rachel, Huawei Customer Service.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hi. Thank you.
So I would like to start this session tonight. So tonight we are talking about tax compliance amid this COVID-19 pandemic. So joining this conversation, who will be helping us discuss this topic is Paul Wangari. So Paul Wangari is an accountant. So I wouldn't want to introduce himself. I would want himself to introduce to say it by himself. So Paul, maybe you can start by introducing yourself as we start the conversation. But basically how these conversations run is you will first discuss about tax matters and how it's affecting us, or how the new tax laws that has been set is going to affect business, and also is going to affect the Mwanainchi. Then the other thing is we'll be joined by a panel of experts who will be helping us also decode this conversation as well as ask you questions. Also, the public is very much welcome to ask you questions as we continue with this conversation. So you can take it, Paul.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Wangari. I'm an accountant by profession. And as you heard Patrick say, government has come up with various registrations to try to mitigate the effects of COVID-19. And in one way, in one hand, it appears the government is giving with one hand and taking away with the other. That's and everyone is feeling the same. And we'll try to see how various legislation that have been passed by the government have affected or may affect the common Mwanainchi, or will the government achieve its intended purpose? We'll try to see, but also I would also want to say, any views I express here are solely mine and does not represent those of my employer.
Right. Thank you. So yeah, that's very good. You made it very clear. Also, I want to confirm it doesn't reflect any affiliations I might have. Right. So Paul, maybe you can start by telling us in terms of what we saw corporate tax reduction, or even that now maybe people will earn less than 30,000 or 25,000.
I'll break down into several registrations. Hello. I'll break it down into several registrations that the government put in place. And one, it's corporate tax, reducing from 30% to 25% for resident companies.
Yeah.
That's one. That's on income tax. We have another one on pay as you earn, granting relief for anyone earning less than 24,000, and also reducing, increasing the tax bands, and also reducing the extreme rate of 30% to 20%. And among other, in VAT, other than VAT, we also some of items that used to be vatable, some of them like medicaments, gloves, and those PPEs, they are now tax exempt. So that's on VAT. But going into detail, something like income tax, I have with myself the tax amendment bill. So we start with the income tax. So other than reducing the rate 30 to 25%, we also raised the threshold that someone had to meet in order to qualify for turnover tax.
Yeah,
They reduced it from minimum, and the maximum is now 50 million. Previously, it was below 5 million. And this is for small, and they also reduced the rate from 3% to 1%. This is very important for small businesses. Actually, so many businesses, so small businesses are making losses. And you have also to remember that turnover tax is based on sales, not profit. While other taxes like corporate are based on your net profit, turnover tax is based on your gross sales. And when we said 1%, remember most of the companies, especially even before the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses were making losses.
No.
So even if you're making losses, the government is saying you still pay us 1%. Maybe government would have thought instead of doing 1%, you could have maybe suspended the TOT for a period of time. That's one. When it comes to corporate tax, they reduced from 30% to 25%. But most of the companies who you usually pay installment tax, one thing happens is that you base it on previous year, which is last year, where the rate was 30%. Actually, the practicability of it is quite tricky. And also, if you happen to have read Business Daily the other day, I think around Thursday, the government was even advised by the IMF that it's the best interest that they reverse the tax laws that they passed. So what that says that most of these taxes were not well thought. Talking also about the corporate tax, remember we have those companies that are listed and they used to benefit with lower tax rate, 27.5%, even others 20%, depending on how much you list on NSE. But now that has now been withdrawn. It's like now everyone will, the corporate tax will be capped at 25%. That is for resident, but also the non-resident has remained the same, that's 7.5. So I would say in that one hand, yes, it's reprieve, 25%, it's better, but its effect to the common Mwanainchi, I don't think it will trickle down to the common Mwanainchi. And the aim of this tax legislation was to trickle down to the common Mwanainchi. We have something like VAT. They reduced it, and we were very happy about it.
Yeah.
But let's take an example of Safaricom airtime. If you today bought airtime of 20 shillings, Safaricom is giving you a relief of maybe a shilling. But when you get a shilling, actually it doesn't even help you. But if government had corrected that 1 shilling, assume you are 10 million subscribers, that's around to 10 million. Yep. So in a month, multiplied by 30, that's around 300 million, which is enough to feed maybe entire Kibra. So again, it was a wrong move by the government, because now the government is losing a lot of funds which may have been more useful in their hands rather than in the general public. A shilling, if you reduce tax and you give me a relief of a shilling or 10 shillings or 5 shillings, it will not affect me. It will not improve my livelihood as a common Mwanainchi. But if you take that 300 million, go to somewhere like Kibra, set up a medical facility there, go somewhere like Mombasa, go somewhere like those guys who are being affected by floods, that resources in government could have had a better impact than the way they reduced the VAT rate to 14%. It will have
All right. Thank you, Paul. So first, maybe
Yes.
I want to address these issues. Maybe now we can start talking about how the trickle-down effect happens. Maybe now we
Yes.
start one issue at a time, and then I'll be bringing our panelists to ask you questions in our topic. But first, let's start about the issue about VAT on itself and on small business. Even like these businesses where young people have small companies, or even not even small companies, they're not called companies. They just registered a business but not transacting. And KRA in and actually finds them maybe a lot of money, then they're not even doing business, which even takes them a lot of time to even pay KRA to be able to transact in this country. As someone who is now specializing in this tax rules and tax regime, is that even supposed to happen? Because we have been having a conversation whereby we say anyone who has maybe revenue 5 million and below should not actually be fined those kind of taxes. Paul? And then Alphonse will
what the general public should understand is that when you take a PIN, that's a responsibility. But as much as we say that, government and KRA, for instance, on this matter, has to create awareness. Most of individuals, be it students, be it small businesses, those, and we call them budding entrepreneurs, they go register PIN actually in cyber, and they have no idea of the responsibility or the obligations that associated with their own in that PIN. Actually, you find someone in cyber giving you the wrong obligation. Like you are a businessman, you own a company, and now someone gives you an obligation, we pay as you want, and you literally have no staff. But that personnel from the cyber didn't have information, and the general public does not have the awareness. So for us to mitigate this, the government has to come in there, create awareness, train people, conduct education to employers, to entrepreneurs and those and business personnel, so that at the end of the day, they have to know what they are engaging in, and the rules governing those businesses. Actually, most of the business people do not have the knowledge, and the KRA will come back 10 years later, give you penalties, and you're like, how? I didn't know. Actually, it's true you didn't know, and that's not defense in a court of law. But KRA is also failing when it comes to training and providing information to taxpayers. They need to have people who are trained, and I think when you create awareness to taxpayers, you actually increase the net. More taxpayers will come up, will open up, and will pay these taxes. And one of the canons of tax is equity. It's not a matter of me paying tax and you not paying. We can dispute that. We can distribute that responsibility between me and you. I pay 2 shillings, you pay 2 shillings. That's 4 shillings. Rather than put the entire of the equity canon of tax. But I think they are not really following some of these canons.
Okay. All right. Maybe I can bring Alphonse, in terms of what Paul is talking about, especially when we talk about companies, small, maybe I don't want to call them companies. I just want to say this business where young people register maybe business and then they are fined. Do you have any question or even a perspective to what Paul said?
I'm not an expert. Paul will guide us. Are they in the category of micro, small, medium enterprises? Paul?
Yes, companies with staff of less than 2 to 50 people. That's micro and small, and also turnover. Something. If you're earning less than 50 million in terms of annual revenue, then you're small. You are in that category.
Okay. Medium. Where do we have the medium?
Medium now, these are big. Bigger. Okay, they are not big, but they are more than 50 million turnover. In terms of 50 million turnover and more than 50 staff.
Okay.
Now, yeah.
So, Patrick, what was the question?
Yeah, the question is in terms of do you have any question for Paul, where we have these companies, those who are just registered, we call them briefcase companies, and they are actually fined, and they get run out of business by government by maybe having huge taxes, rent income, turnover, VAT. Also, we have those annual income, yeah? And also even PE that Paul is talking about. And now, these people are not even in business, yeah? They just register KRA. So, do we have even measures to make sure these people are not driven out of business just because they are being fined for fines they should not even be fined for?
Okay,
yeah,
so
I think that's why I'm
just Paul. So, Patrick, you are saying, if I was asking questions, is it that I mainly focus around taxation?
No, the topic will change. For now, I just wanted you give you give it around the area for now.
Okay, I'm asking that because I want to know I don't want to ask Paul questions that are out of his scope. I'm thinking it's good for us to ask Paul questions within his scope, so that, and when I was coming to the show, I was meant to understand the issue to do with tax compliance and that. So maybe let me ask Paul this. Paul, what is your area of practice and what is your area of specialty?
taxation, accounting and taxation.
Accounting
now specialized in tax. Yes.
Okay. So you therefore will be comfortable to assist us and our viewers in responding to various issues around taxation.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. So my name is Alphonce. I'm a labor policy consultant based in Nairobi here. Labor is people, and usually people with various trades, various occupations and professions in the production process. So definitely I'm interested in tax-related things because they affect workers, whether they're employees, employers, in various cadres. So for us to start off, amidst COVID-19, I think you have already explained a few measures that were taken by government and what your opinion is, whether they were effective or not. But I think for me, where I sit, where I want to start is that this area of taxation is a bit tricky. Now, starting with micro, small, and medium enterprises, there's something referred to as tax obligation at the point of registration of the business or at the point of getting the permit to establish the business premise. Now, just guide us for those who want to start or those who have started and maybe messed up and need to make a correction. At what point should somebody get keen on VAT as a tax obligation? Let me start from that one.
So the first point you should understand is, why do I need to register for VAT? And before this COVID-19, the threshold has always been, if your income is more than, if your turnover is more than 5 million, you register for value added tax, mandatory. In a year.
Okay.
If you are earning, if your turnover is less than that, you can do voluntary registration of VAT.
So in that regard, the VAT registration,
Yes,
there is a gadget that is provided by KRA.
not actually KRA, but through, okay, it's registered.
Just a minute. There's a gadget provided by KRA through various agencies or bodies that sell it, but it's literally a gadget that KRA, when they come to your premise, they expect that you
Yes,
have it.
yes.
Now, what's the name of this gadget? And if you are on the voluntary side of business where your turnover is less than 5 million, what are the consequences of not having it if what your services or goods are vatable?
It's illegal to be registered for VAT purposes and operating without an ETR machine.
Okay, where ETR stands for?
Electronic tax register.
Okay, so is it that's from my question, and you intercepted a bit. Is it a machine that is, how is it related to KRA? Because you see, tax is a function of KRA, but we can get this machine from other vendors. How is KRA coming in when it comes to production, manufacture, and control of how it operates and how it is standardized?
What happens for every trader, he must issue a tax. For every transaction to be accepted by KRA, you have to issue tax invoice or receive a tax invoice. A tax invoice has to have like, if today I receive a tax invoice from a company A, the company A must address it to me. It must have my PIN and my address as my company B, and it must also have the details of company now A that was selling me. And to certify this, it has to have a signature that you generate from ETR machine, or another one we call ESD signature. So for those companies operating, you must have an ETR machine, so that when you're issuing your tax invoices, for them to be acceptable for KRA transaction purposes, you attach the ETR receipts to standardize that tax invoice. Otherwise, if it doesn't have an ETR receipt, it's not accepted by KRA or any other business. Many companies don't accept transactions that invoices that are not supported with ETR machines, ETR receipts.
Okay. I have two more questions on VAT.
Yes.
VAT is supposed to be submitted monthly.
Yes.
Now, amidst COVID-19, there are businesses that are no longer operating, and therefore they have nothing to submit.
Yes.
If they fail totally to submit because they had nothing to submit, what is the consequence, and what is the remedy if they've already missed one or two?
Thank you. The consequences are they will be penalized by Kenya Revenue Authority. It's normally around 10,000 or 5% of tax, whichever is higher. But in this case, you say they are making zero revenues. So for that matter, we have nil return. You should disclose. There's when you're filing your returns, you can, and you don't have any incomes or vatable revenue or transactions during the month, you can say you can file the return for that matter. So it will be not accurate not to report because you didn't have any transaction during the month, or you didn't generate any revenues
Okay, my last question therefore is, you have talked about tax receipts, talking of VAT here, and tax
Yes.
invoice.
Mhm.
Now, I have started a small business that Patrick was referring to.
Yes.
And I go to a restaurant and eat 200, 300, and they give me a receipt, an ETR generated receipt. I
Mhm.
all go to the supermarket and I buy some juices, some food stuff, and a few stationery for the shop. But the food stuff, of course, is for myself. And the
Yes.
receipt is the same, but it is ETR generated and it has VAT on it. But
Yes.
also, I have both the invoice and the receipts after that process. Are there things that when I'm going to KRA for reporting purposes, I'm supposed not to report as part of VAT for my business, yet I use the business money, even if it was to buy my own food? And if the end of the year comes and my VAT tax balance shows that KRA I have a surplus, that means KRA they need to pay me some money back. So am I supposed to ask them to pay me, or how do I handle that excess of tax in VAT terms?
So I'll take it this way. One, for VAT purposes, all the expenses you should claim should be solely related to your business. So if the expenses you incurred were for your personal purposes, those are not allowed. You cannot claim in your monthly VAT return. That's one. Number two, VAT is filed monthly, not annually, and that means in event your input tax, that's tax on your purchases, exceeded your output or tax on sales, it means you will pay anything, you have a credit. That credit, Carrefour don't refund. You carried forward to the next period, or up until when you will generate a VAT payable and offset the sale. Have I
So what if the balance indicates that I have to pay more in the balance? As in, what you have explained is
Pardon?
when I have to be paid, when what I have to be paid is higher than what I have to pay. What happens if there is the opposite?
Now the opposite, like you mean. Now the VAT on sales is higher than the VAT on purchases. Now you pay the net. You pay. You can pay via M-Pesa. You can pay via bank. You just generate payment registration from iTax and pay. Bank
Monthly or annually?
or registered bank. Monthly on or before 20th of every month. Like if the transaction was March, by 20th on or before 20th of the following month.
All right, Alphonse, you're fine? Okay. So if Alphonse, you are fine, we can move. Maybe I want to introduce Abok, also Conrad, to this conversation. You can do a quick introduction, then we'll move to this conversation. If you have any question, you can actually ask on the comment, and then we'll be able to address that. Continue. So we can start with Abok. Abok, you are a business person. Maybe also after you introduce yourself, you can actually maybe mention how you are surviving or how you are actually avoiding being on the wrong hand of KRA. Abok? Abok, are you there? All right, so we can go to Conrad.
Okay. Hello, Paul. My
How
name
are you,
is
Conrad?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm Conrad Sanya, joining in from Busia County,
Yes.
and I joined in late into the conversation. I have so many other questions to ask because I'm really interested in especially tax compliance. Some of us would need to be working within the law, but I think the law is a bit complicated sometimes. It is trying to muscle us sometimes. So I don't know. Let me give it to Patrick. I have some other questions. I don't know if they have already touched on them, but let me give it to Patrick there.
Okay, thank you, Conrad. We'll come maybe back. But anyway, now we can move forward. Paul, maybe in terms of, maybe we can now move to payee, all right? Let's move to
Yes,
maybe
yes.
payee. What these measures
No,
that are being up.
maybe before we go to payee, I want to get Paul's expert opinion. When percentage change of VAT, when VAT changed from 16% to 14%, what percentage change were we given? Is it 12.5% or is it 2% change in VAT tax?
What you are given is 2%, but it's not a 2% of like a certain figure. They reduced, like, if today you are selling, you will like, let's say, for a simple example, you're selling something for 1,000, so you're supposed to add the VAT on top of that to make it previously 160 shillings. So if the item would retail 1,160. Now you're supposed to sell 1,140. So the idea was the difference in 20 shilling will trickle down to the common Mwanainchi. Now, for your business person, what happened? You bought this item from somewhere, maybe 500 shillings, for example. So before 500 by 16%, that should be around 580. Now you have bought it 570. So you bought it a little bit cheaper compare like what you would have bought it before. But if you do the balance that you pay, I don't think there is much difference of what you pay.
Yeah, so
Because
for
actually,
financial reporting and for
yes,
understanding of proportions on the change.
yes,
We're talking of
yes.
change VAT. Do we say that VAT changed by 20% by 2% from 16% to 14%, or do we say that it changed by
Yes.
12, or do we say it changed by 12.5%, where we say 2 out of 16 into percentage?
No.
Okay.
We say it changed. It was reduced by 2%. That's the correct position. Reduced by 2% from 16 to 14.
Right.
Because even before it was in percentage form.
Good. So, Paul, are you okay, Alphonse? We proceed with questions. I think now you'll have so many questions. Paul, maybe before even we go to the next topic, I want you to address this one. So Karanja is saying, if you apply for refund and carry decline, can you go forth and expense it in P1, and is it in tax allowable? Is it tax allowable?
Tax refund. So this one happens most in cases of those companies that's like deals with exports, which incur expenses, which are vatable, but when you're selling, you don't put VAT. So normally, if you're not claiming the VAT element, the ideal position is to remove it from the VAT account. Now you expense it. Yes, that's the correct position.
Right.
That's my position.
Right, good. So we have another one from Wekesa. Does it mean to have excess payment from P9 home? What causes such high or excess remittance? Why doesn't KRA refund excess remittance on employees as indicated on P9 forms?
Because the reason being, see, most of this P9, employment tax should be accurate. We shouldn't pay a shilling more or a shilling less. So what happens mostly is you are deducted wrongly, or your P9 was prepared wrongly. And a tax, you see, when you're filing your employment return, it should balance it off. It should balance off completely with what you paid. Because in other words, it should have been accurate from the word go. It should balance it off to zero.
All right, good. So maybe we can move because I think we'll be addressing so many issues. Paul, so let's first, since you are touching about pay, maybe can you explain pay to layman's?
Pay as you earn. This is deducted on employees. So if anyone earning salary is deducted this and remitted to KRA previously, and previously those employees who are earning less than 13,000 and something, for sure, were not paying anything. We're not paying any pay as anyone. But now that limit has been raised to 24,000. I think this is the only tax that a taxpayer has really benefited. Something big, because like you look at those guys who are earning 100,000, 1 million, they're really doing a lot of savings. Someone is doing savings of around 15,000 with new tax rates that were passed the other day by His Excellency President. Remember, before, personal relief used to be 1408. Nowadays, the personal relief is 400 currently. Remember, the tax bracket used to be, the extreme one used to be 30%. Now it's 25%. And also the tax bands has also been increased. The first amount has been raised. It's a bigger figure, meaning it has really cautioned those who have been who are employed. It has reduced the amount of tax that's being deducted by KRA. But to government, they are really losing a lot of money because this was a real-time income to them.
All right.
Like everyone.
Just continue.
Like anyone who works in any company and that company is registered for pay as you earn, they deduct you and remit it by 9th of the following month, meaning the government gets this money real time. So by reducing these rates, the government have really lost quite a lot of money.
Okay. All right. Maybe I'll let Alphonse ask you questions, and then we go to Abok and then Conrad. But Abok, I also want to come with a specific question to you, but we can start. Paul, I cannot hear you. Were you talking?
No.
Proceed, Alphonse.
Yeah, maybe Paul, tell us. There's something you have called personal relief.
Yes.
What is this personal relief? We don't understand this language. We see these figures on the payroll or payslip. What is this personal relief?
Personal relief is used to cushion the low income and to put a minimum amount that can be deducted pay. So in layman's language, if we compute your tax, pay as you earn tax, and amounts to around 2,400. So if it's 2,400, we reduce that by personal relief, 2,400. It's a relief from government that reduces your tax burden. So if we minus the 2,400, you won't pay anything. So if you are paying 8,000, you're supposed to deduct you 8,000. We will deduct you 8,000 net of personal relief. It's a form of, actually it's used to reduce those to cushion those employees who earn little amount of salary. Like for this case, low income earners 24,000, less than 24,000.
Now
24,000, 28,800. Sorry.
Now, what you are saying, let me understand. If I'm earning 25,000,
yes.
so the first 24,000 should not be taxed in the current situation.
What happens? We have tax brackets.
Okay.
Remember tax bands. So I think I'll try to get the new tax bands and let me just see them here and give you the exact tax bands.
Yeah, but we have the below 24,000, no tax.
Yes, that's 100% relief. 100% relief.
So my question is,
yes,
if I'm earning 25,000,
yes,
I have 24,000 that is in the first bracket that is not supposed to be taxed. So the one that will be subjected to tax is the 1,000 shillings on top.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Okay, explain to us. That's what I want to understand. Does that relief, do we remove the relief before we start taxing, or we tax first and then subtract relief?
Exactly. The second, you're earning 25,000. So we first you take it. You first take the part that falls the first tax bracket. You multiply by 10%. So if like you have excess, it goes to the next bracket. You tax at 15%. If you still have more, you take it the entire tax minus the relief. So if at all someone was earning maybe a certain amount which was below the relief that was given amount, it definitely cancel out. But not like if I'm earning like 50,000, I take the first 24,000, I don't tax. Now I tax the return. No, not that.
So what you're saying, I am still there so that we understand. So if I'm earning 25,000 and the first people who earns 24,000 and below are not supposed to be taxed, but now the second group where I now fall is 10%, then for me, I will be taxed 10% of 25,000.
Actually, when you read that way, you read wrongly. What should happen? How you should see it? You should see it as not like a certain people are not taxed. No. How it is if you're earning like 25,000, you first tax the 24,000, 10%. The 1,000 you tax 15%. You sum up the two minus the relief. So in that case, for someone who was earning 24,000, it will be 24,000 0.
I want Aboke and Conrad to speak. I still have questions, but I think I also need to hear their questions so that I don't dominate my question session.
So I want to move to Conrad. Aboke will be joining shortly. So Conrad, do you have any question on that subject of pay? Conrad?
On pay, I don't have much question. I have a different question on another topic, and probably as you proceed, I'll be able to ask.
Okay, good.
And then I can ask the one on pay, because pay we have what we call basic income, then we have gross income, but also we have gratuity. Now, for people who are earning gratuity, they are earning the lump sum. How are they taxed? Are they taxed the same way as the people who are on the regular gross pay, or lump sum has a different way of being computed as part of pay? And lump sum here, I'm talking about people who are being paid. They have a contract that ends in a period of time, let's say 5 years, and after that they have a gratuity to be paid. So that gratuity is supposed to be subjected to tax. Or we have people who have been rendered redundant, so they are being given redundancy package. So they are being subjected to also the lump sum. So that lump sum is what I'm talking about. I hope you have gotten me.
Yes, I've gotten it. And those ones are taxed differently from the pay. Pay is your normal salary. You take basic pay, add any allowances that you might be getting, be it, what do we call them? Leave, house, medical, leave, house, any form of allowance, telephone, any form of allowance, you make it, you add, you ramp, you get the gross, you tax that. Gratuity and pensions, those are taxed differently.
So what should people know about that? Because where I sit, people ask questions. They are taxed the same way when they are being employer most of the time, and leave alone the pension. I'm not talking of pension. I'm just talking of gratuity, and I'm talking of redundancy package. Those two lump sum values. So what should people know, or where should they go for assistance, or where can they get the resource that can guide them on gratuity payment or lump sum for redundancy package, so that they are not, and I'm assuming that it is favorable in comparison to the normal pay.
So the most important thing that should happen is, once you get your pay, like you are getting your gratuity and you don't know how it should be taxed. Maybe I don't have conclusive information about it. The most ideal person is to talk to a consultant. You can get one, or go to iTax center, support centers. They have support centers across regions, and they will be able to assist, so that you have information that my employer subjected my income correctly, rather than you be taxed wrongly and you end up taking home less than you should take home.
All right.
Okay, my last one then, because I see now Bok is back and Conrad right now. Is still on that tax. There are things that are considered, if you are paying them, they are considered to be removed in your income before the remaining amount is taxed. Yeah, let's say I was paying for insurance premium. So explain to us how that affects. I don't know the terms you will use, whether it's tax allowable or whatever, but use the language we will understand as common Mwanainchi, so that we know if I'm paying this, it should be removed before I'm taxed, for the sake of purposes of verification, so that I don't overpay or pay twice.
So what should happen is, one, we have NSSF. You should deduct NSSF before. It should reduce actually your taxable salary. And for insurance, see the tax element, the final figure. Like if you say we computed your salary and it amounted to around 8,000, that's what they are supposed to deduct you. We will reduce this with two items: insurance and personal relief.
So is that insurance? If somebody is paying a premium of 5,000, another one is per month, another one is paying a premium of 200,000, do we remove the entire amount, or there are limitations?
I don't know the upper bracket, but it has a limit. It has a limit.
All right, good. Okay, thank you, Paul and Alphonse for your question. So let me move forward to Abok. Abok, I want to maybe have a specific question to you since you are running business. Maybe you can tell us the measures and mechanisms you are using actually to stay afloat and compliant to these taxes from KRA, as well as you can ask Paul some questions about about the same area of your specialization in terms of business. Can you unmute your microphone?
Yeah, good evening, Patrick and the team.
Good evening.
I'm very sorry. I appeared then disappeared. Paul, my name is Bernard Abok. Just like Patrick has said, I run a small business, and I have very few questions for you, and most probably maybe someone might have asked them, but you'll allow me maybe for the benefit of this show just to answer them. Number one, who is to fill nil returns, and who here I'm referring to two people, one an individual and two as a registered entity, that is either a company or an individual. I would want you to respond to that as we proceed so that I don't mix my questions, because I may have a follow-up question on the same.
So the correct position is both individual and company are allowed to file nil return regarding if the tax obligation you are filing for, you didn't have transaction for that particular period. Example, let's assume your company, you are registered for VAT and you didn't have any transaction for the month. You didn't purchase and you didn't sell. You are allowed to file nil return. Individual, you didn't have any source of any income during a particular financial year, you are allowed to file nil return. You are allowed to file nil return. The same thing, the same case will apply to rental. Those guys, sometimes you may register for rental and NEMA comes and say your building is not fit for use, and all the tenants vacate. You are allowed to file the return, but it must be the correct position. Otherwise, when KRA starts coming and they prove otherwise, then you penalized.
Okay. You have said if you made no transaction within that period that you are filing nil return.
Yes.
And I would want to assume maybe in the process of doing your business, either as an individual or as a company, you made a transaction and maybe you made a profit. Yeah. In this case, what kind of return should you file?
The type of return you should file is based on the obligation in your personal identification number, your PIN number. So if your PIN has an obligation for VAT, you file for VAT and annual return. Income tax resident or non-resident. If your PIN has obligation for rental, you do rental. If your PIN has for turnover, you do turnover. So the type or the kind of return you file is purely based on the obligation that is in your PIN.
Okay. In the same case, therefore, if my income is when I was registering the entity and I don't know, registering with that particular thing you are calling obligation, I stated that which you call annual returns, and there is also VAT, something like that. And my returns have exceeded, say, 5 million. What should I do?
So even before generating that 5 million, you are already registered as VAT taxpayer. So you should have started filing your VAT return monthly, and at the end of the year, you do your annual income tax return. That's how it should be.
What if I didn't register for VAT and my income is above 5 million?
So immediately you realize your projected income for a particular year will be more than 5 years, you are supposed now to register, to add VAT obligation in your PIN and start filing for value-added tax.
Would you specify what is this income you are talking about? Is it the whole money received? Is it
Sales.
profit or what? What is, yes.
No, not profit, gross sales. Like you have 10 byros, you are selling them 10 shillings. So 10 by 10, that's 100. So if now 10 by 5,000 is 50,000 is 5 million, it's more than 5 million, you register sales. The threshold for registration of VAT is based on sales, gross sales.
Gross sales.
Not profit or any, or you don't deduct any expenses before.
Okay. Tell me something about internship versus tax relief. For example, I have 5 interns who are being paid maybe 10,000 every month per person. Do I qualify for any relief, or what is the position of paying internship in regards to paying of taxes?
So no matter what should happen if you have National Industrial Training Agency or something. Yes, NITA. They reimburse employers who registered employers who have interns. So normally they should reimburse you because you are doing the training purposes. But when it comes to tax relief, because you're having interns, there are none.
I don't know whether we are together.
Yes.
Because what you are saying or what you are telling me is a bit different from what we are experiencing. There is a threshold for internship or interns, the total number of interns that you need to have for you to qualify for any tax relief. And so okay, we tried to reach this threshold, we reached it, and it's still a struggle to get that particular relief. I don't know whether it's the same position or what you have said is the true position.
Let me not say it's the true position. Let me say I have no idea about this regarding interns, tax reliefs when you have interns. I have no idea about
Okay.
Yes. Maybe they are, but what I know is people get reimbursed by NITA.
Yeah, for NITA is true, it's very true. because you are doing training, something which they are supposed to be doing. But there is also that government
Yes.
is a policy by the government to encourage encourage private sector to offer internship opportunities to fresh graduates. So in return,
Yes.
there is a particular benefit which you are getting when you create such
Yes.
opportunities. And maybe I thought it would be wise for us also, even on this show, to enlighten even other would be employers, or those who are still looking at internship as a very as a burdensome activity, to look at it and find a way of creating job opportunities for the fresh graduates. So maybe okay, you said you have no idea. I thought maybe it should be made clear.
Okay. We'll try to get more information on that to get the right position for the public.
All right. Thank you. Maybe you can
Okay.
proceed with another question if you
Thank
have. You can continue.
No, I'll ask as we proceed.
Okay. Good. All right. So maybe I can move to Conrad. Conrad, are you still there?
So my question I have two questions, but let me start with the first one because it was about payee. So how are bonus payments treated?
Yes. Bonus is taxable.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute. Oh, yeah. Proceed, Paul.
So he was asking how you treat bonus, and bonuses are taxable. If you receive a bonus in your monthly pay, it's taxable. It's subject to pay as you want. And not only bonus, but benefits of kind of more than that 6,000.
Right. Good. So let me maybe Conrad, are you satisfied? Okay, is satisfied. So let's go to.
Okay, I have a second question.
Okay, proceed.
I have a second question. My second question will just continue where Bok was talking about, and is the new tax. I think it came into force. It was supposed to come into force last year or this year. So I just like you to shed light on how turnover tax, 3% turnover tax.
I'm sorry, guys. So Conrad, it seems you have some issues with your system. So please just type the question, and then Paul will address it. So let me move to Wekesa. Wekesa, proceed.
Maybe before I guess I think
Yeah.
Conrad was raising the issue of this, what I am calling patriotic tax. This new tax that came for patriotism. Maybe talk about that, Paul.
So turnover tax. So turnover tax, it didn't start on the last finance bill. It has been on the existence. Only that it failed to have the expected results, and government did away with it for 2019. The entire 2019, the government did away with it and replaced it with presumptive, which was 15% of your business permit. That's what people used to pay, and people would pay on presumptive. But turnover tax was there even before. It was usually paid quarterly, and it was 3% of your sales. Financial period, they changed change from quarterly to monthly. You do it monthly, and before the COVID-19, it was 3% of your sales. And for you to qualify for that tax obligation, your turnover was to be between 500,000 and less than 5 million. But now with COVID-19, it has been raised, at least to cushion the lower small enterprises. Is now the threshold is 10 million, not 1 million and 50 million, and the tax rate has been reduced from 3% to 1%, effective the day President assented the bill.
So what you are saying is that turnover tax is the same as presumptive tax?
No,
because I think
presumptive was coming 2019 to replace turnover tax after turnover tax had failed to attain its objective. But with presumptive tax, it performed even worse, and they resorted to go back to turnover tax. Okay, my point is it's not new.
Okay, now in your view, this tax whether presumptive or turnover, is this tax useful for development of businesses in this country and for people doing business, or it's a punishment to them?
I wouldn't say it's a punishment, because for equity, everyone should at least pay some tax. But I think it's wrong how my point is they shouldn't base it on sales. Subjecting someone's sale, percentage on someone's sale, I think that's too much, and it's mandatory. I think they should find a balance, because by subjecting it to sales means you cannot claim anything, you cannot reduce but even when your businesses are making losses, you are still paying this tax. So on that end, I think it's a little bit too much for the taxpayer. But on the other hand, government should at least make money, so they should find a way of taxing the small enterprises, but not in a way they'll squeeze them too much.
All right, so we can move to Ekesa.
Umenifikia? Hello. Paul.
Yes.
Yes, me, I'm in sales and marketing, and my questions are very simple. Ya utajibu haraka haraka tu, haikuangi kubu. So the first, I think the daily encounters I have with customers, one of the challenges they have is it's called electronic tax register, ETR.
Yes.
Who qualifies for an ETR, and how do you acquire an ETR? And then if I have different kinds of businesses, do I need one ETR or different ETRs?
There are two. For those guys who qualify to have ETRs, is anyone registered for VAT. If you are registered for VAT, you should have an electronic tax register. And alternative of it is those big companies normally issued they have ESD machine which gives a digital signature for all of their invoices. Like if I'm selling, I input that particular machine input a digital signature there down. But for you to have that, you have to be VAT registered. Then on top of that, something else, there are specific vendors who sells ETR machines, not everyone. Remember this gadget captures the data for KRA. So they have to be monitored by KRA. So for you to sell an ETR, it has to be approved by KRA.
So how do I there's an echo somewhere. There's an echo somewhere.
All right.
There's an echo somewhere. Okay, it's okay. I'm asking now, how do I detect that this is a fake ETR machine? And then for people who don't have ETR and they're using normal receipts, how do they capture their tax?
How you detect a fake tax ETR machine? It's you have to buy it from appointed agent by KRA. You don't buy it. So if someone else is just vending the machine, then you really need to check whether it's proper. Otherwise, it will be more of IT guys to check the technicalities. But the most important thing is you have to buy it from the appointed, so that remember, if like for instance with this VAT change rate, you are liaising with your agent to reconfigure the ETR machine.
Okay. Okay.
So you have to buy it from the thing. You can go and reconfigure, check, or something.
Okay.
All right. So
That's how.
thank you. So we can move forward. So now, Paul, can you explain to us when it comes to waivers, maybe those business who have fines from even the government, we know even big businesses and also small businesses, or even individuals, how one qualifies for waivers for those fines, and what are the procedures, just in case someone out there is just having a huge fine from KRA.
So what happens is, one, currently the process of applying for waiver have been suspended by KRA. Like you will apply, but they are not giving out waivers. Maybe they are streamlining. And number two, KRA may waive your penalties and interest, but in most circumstances, you always be required to pay the principal tax. And like if you missed out to pay a particular tax, like 5,000, they'll penalize you, and the penalty will start, interest will start accumulating. So what happens is you'll have now, you can talk to KRA, they waive for you the penalties and interest, but most likely they won't accept to waive for you the principal tax. And the process is simple. You do it via iTax portal. The process is simple. You do it under iTax portal, generate an acknowledgement receipt, and just take it to iTax support center to push it through, and they'll guide you from there onwards.
Right. So maybe
they are
all right. Continue, Paul.
There are iTax support center across every city, and yeah, they will assist you on waiver. But the process, they have suspended giving out the waivers because I don't know, but they have suspended. They are not giving out waivers.
Okay, Alphonse, maybe now when it comes, especially when we are in this crisis of COVID-19 and the economy, even for the Mwanainchi or even anyone, is very stable. So, Alphonse, maybe can you ask or can you give us a perspective going forward, which actually criteria or which will be the threshold for, will this be the COVID-19, can it be a threshold for actually looking to get waivers? Because Kenyans right now are not earning money and actually they owe KRA.
Yeah, I don't want to go there because I have not seen any substantive direction the government took. For example, when they have decided people should be losing jobs, and then those who are losing jobs now have the payee relief. So you are relieved for what you are not earning anymore. In fact, they have lost more money. Due to the fact that people. I'm getting some echo.
Okay. Is it working?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was us.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to go to the COVID-19 situation. There is nothing totally talk about COVID-19 that our viewers will be able to gain in relation to tax. That is my position. Instead, what I think is we need to understand our tax regime. So there are so many tax-related issues. So what I think is the smaller bits of tax that we are touching might be more useful to our viewers than going to COVID-19 in relation to tax. Our government flopped. There's nothing they are showing that is going to help us anymore in relation to tax, unless they come up with something totally new, but I doubt if they will. Paul also elaborated a bit of that. Instead of Safaricom returning to me 2 shillings after, or 1 shilling or 2 shillings after I've spent 100 bob, that money could have been collectively collected by the government to do something substantive in a locality or two. And if you look at how much that amount to collectively is more, so the government would have had a better impact channeling that through the COVID-19 committee or the team that is looking into that, more than me getting the 2 bob, which disappears even when I don't know. So I think Paul did some good justice around that, so I don't want to enter into that. My issue is I will have wanted to go to another tax, and I really wanted Paul to be on show. I don't know his network, but there's a tax called withholding tax. Yeah, so that's what I would have wished to we go to.
Yeah, I'm bringing him back. So before he comes, maybe we can get.
But also our viewers might should be asking us questions on live chat so that we are able to raise them to our guest today. But we have people abroad who send their money here. How is that money handled in relation to tax? What should they know? What do we need to know so that when they are sending money to me and there's some taxation element I need to understand? For example, there's something called capital gains tax. Now, what is this and how relevant is it to our economy? Is it useful? The amount, is it substantive? Yeah. We have excise duty, which was raised to 20%, or rather excise tax, sorry. The tax on transactions. When you do M-Pesa, you are taxed. When you do a transaction on ATM, you are taxed. So to me, those are the things I want to hear because yeah, so Paul is back. So Paul, are you hearing me well?
Yes, I am hearing you now.
Okay, I wanted to go to another type of tax that I wanted to ask the question just before you exited briefly. And the issue is the tax called withholding tax. Now, I have done a transaction worth 100,000 as a consultant, and I've been asked of my PIN by my customer. They withheld, I think, 5%. So at what point does this withholding tax apply for the sake of our viewers? And how, when they're withholding my tax, how does it affect me at the end of the year when I'm reporting? Because I'm not being given the money. Can I claim it if the year has ended and I did not use it, or how do we handle the money?
So what happens? What happens is we have other than business employment, we have other types of incomes. We have other types of incomes like professional incomes, which they are taxed differently. Like for all professional incomes, you are supposed to withhold. That is 5%. If it's a contract income, 3%. We have like for musician royalties. We talk about non-resident being 20%, 5% local for commissions. So the company that you traded with, it's mandated by law to withhold from you that proportion. What you should really check is, are they registered withholding agents? Remember, no one should withhold. Remember, it's if they are withholding tax, then they should remit it to KRA, not stay with it. Because I see some companies withhold and they delay to remit, and they do business with your money. They once you withhold, if you pay January, you should remit that money by on or before 20th of the following month. So that's how you check. But yes, the partner, your business partner, is mandated by law to withhold from you.
Now, if they don't remit it, let's say I discover that 5 months later, I worked for them in 2 different transactions. Each of them were withholding 60,000.
Yes.
They only remitted the first tranche of the 60,000, but the second tranche, 6 months down the line, I discovered it was not remitted. How do I handle that? Do I ask them to pay me back my money, or they're supposed to still remit it?
All right, I think Paul is having some network issues. So let's see. So maybe I'll want maybe to, before Paul's come back to answer that question, maybe we can go to Abok. Abok, are you there?
Alphonse, I didn't get
Yes,
your
I'm there.
question, Alphonse.
Oh, okay. Paul is
Someone
back.
is calling me now.
Sorry, Paul.
He is interfering with my internet.
Okay.
It's okay. So I was asking, it was on withholding tax. I've discovered you have not remitted my withholding tax. You withheld it. What is the action there? Do I ask for the money 6 months down the line? Do I ask for you to give me the money, or you're still you're supposed to submit it to KRA and
demand for your money it's wrong, and you should demand for your money, and the liability now goes to him. Ask for your money. He should remit by 20th. So it's wrong. What he is doing is wrong. You should. There are only 2 options. He give you money, or if he withholds, he remit to KRA. And the way you know is once he remits, you get your ITAX, the certificates on the ITAX portal.
All right. So maybe we can move now. Maybe I can ask Abok.
No, there's something Paul talked about, contract tax. What is that? 3%.
Contract income. If you are, for those guys who get contracts, they are normally withheld at around 3%, not 5%.
What do you mean by getting contract? Because if I'm employed, I'm also given a contract.
No, not employment. That's employment income. I mean, like contract income, like those guys who do maybe roads. You're given a contract to do a road, a fit out, something like that, and you are paid like after first valuation, the certificate is issued by the valuer or engineer. You are paid a certain proportion. That's now the contract income, not the other one, not the employment. The contract for.
Okay. What about the commission one? What is it, and how does it apply?
Commission is normally 5%, and for those like M-Pesa, it should be more than 24,000. No one should withhold if you're earning the commission of less than 24,000. Management and training should be more than 24,000, so that someone withhold 5%.
So what if I am selling for Patrick, I'm selling for Paul, and I'm selling for Conrad, and each one of you tells me that when you bring me this level of business, I will pay you commission. Is that also applicable there, or where does that one apply in terms of my income? When I bring you a job worth, let's say 1 million, and I need to have, you said I will be paid 10% commission.
No, now that's those agreements you make chinya meza.
No, it is written. I'm a salesperson for you.
But if it's contractual,
yes.
If you have a contract, you have a contract, that one you have to withhold. Otherwise, KRA will come for you.
So
And
which
now
type of
what
tax will
happens?
apply there?
You withhold commission 5%.
So that will not be like my salary, because I am asking that because you have raised that issue of withholding 5% on that type, but yet I have seen people doing sales on commission basis alone being taxed as if they are earning a salary or a bonus. So maybe clarify that a bit.
You see those guys who earn like Britam, Jubilee, those ones. So they are taxed differently on commissions. You know, that person is paid is not earning salary. He is earning commission. So the tax that will be levied on that income will not be pay as you want. It will be withholding tax.
What if they have a retainer and a commission?
So if you have a retainer, if it's a salary, which is a retainer is normally a salary, that's pay. But if it's a commission, that's withholding.
Okay.
All right. So maybe I want to get, if anyone has any question there, I want to move with to international, or maybe those guys who are working outside the country, and then they are bringing their income to the country, and those tax laws, and how they can become compliant. So
maybe Patrick, before we go there, maybe Abok looks like he had something most likely different.
Yeah, maybe Abok can address.
Yeah, thank you, Alphonse, for rescuing me. I wanted, there's a category of tax which you asked for, which is capital gains tax. I also want to get to know who are eligible, who are these people who are eligible to pay installation tax and advance tax. They are category of taxes that are there. Who are those, whether institutions or individuals, who are eligible to pay such category of taxes? Then the last one, I don't know whether is there. Is it there?
Is there?
The last one is, oh yeah. Then the last one is, would you talk about tax exemptions and incentives? Who qualifies for which exemption or which incentives are there that we can look at whenever we want to pay tax?
Pardon, I didn't get. I'm having some trouble. Tell me about your question again. Tax
Okay.
exemptions?
Okay, let me start again. Alphonse asked the efficiency or the use of capital gains tax.
Yes.
Or who are eligible or to pay capital gains tax. Number two, I'm also asking about installation tax and tax or advance tax. Then number three, I just want you to explain maybe in the exemptions or incentives that are there, that have been placed by the KRA, that we can benefit from.
All right.
Amanda.
Yeah, Paul, I think has some issues with receiving calls. So maybe let's just wait for him just a minute. Let me see.
Olwangari.
All right. So all right, it's taking more than we expect. So all right, so maybe we can proceed with this conversation as Paul comes back. There's a question here. Maybe we can address it ourselves. So Karanja is asking your opinion on this. when you do a late filing for VAT, 6 months input, claiming window does, okay, 6 months input, claim window, does the window start from the date of filing or the end of the date of the period of filing? Example, if I'm filing VAT for January 2020 today, will I claim input VAT 6 months from 31 January backward or from today? I think that one is a technical question, but Alphonse, did you get? Maybe I will let Paul address this. Paul, are you there? All right. Maybe he's still not there. Maybe Alphonse, you can give your input. He's talking about okay. I'm not understanding the question. Really, I will just read it again. So he's saying, give your opinion. When you do late filing for VAT, 6 months input claim, does the window start from the date of filing or the end date of the period of filing? So he's talking about when you file or when the end of the date of filing. When is the window?
Maybe let me ask Conrad and Abok what they have understood in the question before I behave as if I've understood.
I think it's talking about penalties.
The penalty. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was talking about penalties because it's supposed to be filed monthly. So I think he was talking about penalties or something like that, if I understood it correctly.
Okay. Abok, what did you get?
Anyway, bottom line inquiry is about the payment of penalties. When are they supposed to? I mean, when are the penalties start accruing, or when is it supposed to pay for them? Maybe that's how I understand it, but it's not quite clear in his question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also felt he's asking about penalty, but then if I didn't understand, if it is beyond penalty, then it must have been very technical. That requires somebody who has 100% or a great subject matter knowledge and practice. But this is my response, and this is drawn from my personal experience, but also from a little knowledge from the few clients I've assisted when they're stuck. That penalties are counted from the last date. Yeah, the last date when you're expected to pay. So this one differs from depending on what are we paying. For the sake of VAT and any other tax that KRA claims, they have a deadline. So this one that they have a deadline. Beyond that deadline, the following morning, then it starts counting. And I think the count is per month. Yeah, for these monthly related taxes, you are held accountable per month. But also, we have those taxes. So for VAT, because his question was on VAT, and that's why I'm going per month, so that how many months have you not is likely to be the effect there. But also we have those ones that the penalty only applies once in a cycle of 1 year. Yeah, or one in a cycle of a skip. For example, if you are supposed to pay again the same VAT, now one of the things that will happen is that you will be penalized once for one skip, so that if in 5 months they will consider you have not paid for 5 months, so you'll have 5 different payments that were skipped and therefore 5 different penalties. But if you skipped March but then April you paid, going forward, then you only have a penalty of March. Yeah, so the final position that I have on that is, for every month you skipped, you'll be penalized individually. Anything else that will accrue is, if it will accrue, is interest, but I have not seen so far interest accruing, but at least the penalty itself. Yeah, so if you have missed 4 months, whether there were nil returns or not, and each penalty should be 10,000, or it has gone to 20,000 now, I don't know, but I think it was 10,000 per skip. So if you have skipped 4 months, you expected to pay 40,000. And what KRA will tell you is that you have tax obligation to clear before they can either give you tax compliance certificate, or they can make you to the green side of your relationship with them. I hope I've attempted to answer that, but I didn't quite clearly get the question that I can confidently say I've answered it satisfactorily. If they have gotten our answer, they can maybe decide to let us know if we have answered correctly or if there's something different.
Right. So, Karanja, you can maybe rephrase it if it has been answered well and good. If not, you can also do a follow-up. So maybe let's move. So before polls come, but let's move now. This country, we pay a lot of taxes. Business have complained so much. Even individual people, we have complained. We are being taxed so much. Now, my question to, we can start with Abok. Do you think we are going to build this economy of Kenya with the kind of tax regime we have for small businesses and even individual taxes?
Let me just start by telling you, yesterday I was moving from somewhere and I assisted somebody with the lift, and this person was really crying that, I'm going to work and I use a lot of fare and I go to work, and when I get there, the employer deducts a lot of my money and takes it to KRA or to the government. Then I see my money being carried in sacks by individuals going to benefit specific people. So as much as we want to talk about this, I mean, a lot of money being deducted by the government or collected by the government, and whether this money is enough for countries' development, there is that principle of prudency in the usage of national resources. Currently, I can tell you, if we have our priorities right, then we are generating more money, and they are enough to enable the country carry out certain development that is within our reach. But of course, the deficit can be bridged by getting either internal or external loan. What concerns me so much is how our money is being used. So as at now, you don't even know whether it's enough or not, because we have never known whether we have collected enough and enough to what extent, or we have, I mean, the situation is the same. We are borrowing, whether we have collected enough. We are still borrowing, whether we don't have. So it's hard even to say that we are collecting much. Yeah.
Right, interesting. So, Conrad, are we this economy? Are we going to build it with the kind of tax regime we have?
I think the first thing we should be looking at, and which I've always been talking about, is about who are the people paying tax in Kenya? What is our tax band? What is the number of people paying tax in Kenya? That is the thing we have a problem there. The problem, the government has run out of ideas on how to increase the tax band, the number of Kenyans paying taxes through favorable taxation measures. Because currently we have this thing, it is a thing nowadays called the gig economy, where somebody does something, gets something.
Okay, I'm really sorry. I will have to. Conrad, I'm sorry. It's because there's so much noise, we could not hear you. I'm really sorry about that. But actually, you can maybe type and then I'll read it, your response on that question. But anyway, let me move to Alphonse. So, Alphonse, are we going to actually build this economy with the kind of tax regime we have? And what's the future of our children and grandchildren?
It's a tricky one, because you see, the tax regime is not something, it is people that facilitate it. Now, based on the people that we have, I still maintain that they are predators, so they are going to eat what we have collected. So we will not build the country with the taxes, and even without the taxes, or with the taxes plus other sources of that income, because that's not their primary role at the moment, but it's to eat us, and it's to eat from us, and to make us totally not able to live.
To pay anymore.
Yeah, so there is no professionalism in how we are running our economy at all, whether from a microeconomic perspective or macroeconomic perspective. And therefore, as a result, there's little hope in that line of expecting the current crop of leaders, who are the current system owners and managers, to make any substantive use of taxation and how to both collect and utilize the taxes.
All right. Interesting. So
that is not interesting
maybe,
at all. That is depressing.
Interesting.
Let me just add something. Yeah. In the country today, we have money. Really, we have money. The problem is whom we trust with the money that we have. So the issue is not even do we have with our taxation system, do we generate enough to guarantee development? Yes, we have, but where is our money going to? That is the question. In fact, that should be the question you should be asking. And Alphonse is right. It's depressing. It's not interesting. Depressing.
All right. Anyway, good. Thank you for that. So, so I want to move now. The government, of course, has to bridge the gap or even bridge the deficit. But of course, and Paul was talking about. But where is our money going? Okay, Paul, I think that's your noise. Can you maybe try to? Alphonse is right. You can cross the program that was open. All right, so that's good. So maybe I shouldn't maybe proceed. So I'll just want Alphonse, was it Abok, the one asking Paul a question? So maybe you can proceed, Abok.
Yes, Paul. Sorry for the interruptions you are having. My questions were very clear. Capital gains tax, explain also installation tax, and there is something that is called advance tax. Advance tax. Advance tax. I've never understood it, but maybe you can help me understand it together with the installation tax, because I see up to a maximum of 40,000. I don't know, but maybe if you have that knowledge, then you may also explain it to me. Then the last bit was maybe for the benefit of our listeners and other people, you would explain some of the tax exemptions and incentives that we have. Maybe you can narrow it. I hope now you've understood.
Okay, sorry for the interference. I've sorted the interruptions. So I'll start with the installment tax. So what happens? Corporates or anyone who has annual income tax obligation. So businesses. So the carry. If you foresee you pay, you have profit for the year and you'll be in a payable position for the current financial period. So what happens is you don't wait at the end of the year, you pay the entire tax. So you pay it in bits. Like after the first 4 months, you assess. You've already assessed yourself based on previous. There are two positions, by the way. You can use current year provision, or you prepare management accounts and develop projected profit and loss and determine this is my projected profit and this is the taxes I'm going to pay. So unpaid quarterly, or you can use previous year basis where the profits you made, you multiply by 110%, and you pay that, and the balance of tax you pay by April the following year. So rather than where you wait for the entire period, that's how installment tax works. You paid quarterly, you paid April, June, 9 month, and 12 month. Then when it comes to advance tax, so we have
Okay,
these
before
things
you
like,
go
yes.
to advanced tax, huh?
Yes.
What you have explained to me looks like a mode of paying a tax and not a classification of tax. I don't know whether I got you right, huh? Because what you are explaining is like I'm negotiating with the authority on how I'm going to pay my tax, rather than being classified as a category of tax in itself. What I asked was
Yes.
in installation tax, not installment tax.
I don't want to shed light on something I don't know.
Okay.
So that one on installation, I don't know.
Okay. Proceed to advance.
Advance, the way I get it is like the way I've dealt with it is I have a payable of VAT, let's say 30,000. So I pay for it and offset. When like once I file return, I'll offset against the VAT payable. There is also advance tax for motor vehicles. So those are the cases for advance. Okay, so the area I've dealt with when it comes to advance tax is form of prepayment. Like I pay in advance. 10,000. Once I file my tax return, rather than pay after, I pay before and offset there. You normally be given a certain registry and certain PRN number. So you just put it and it will offset. And this happens mostly to those individuals who maybe you won't have your director sign your check or something. So you pay once you get in, you pay in advance. Then once you file return, you sort it out. Then capital gains tax. That's based on transfer of property and transfer of shares. And before, there is something they were talking on the current tax amendment bill. And I don't know whether you can produce it chap and see what we have about it. Let me see it. Maybe you can ask another question once before I check that one.
I asked you about tax exemptions and
Capital.
incentives that we. No, you've talked about capital gains, which you are checking. We can go to tax exemptions and incentives.
So one of the incentives taxpayers have, let me talk that, then someone else will ask another one for a check. One of the exemptions that you have is capital allowances. That is capital expenditure. Once you incur a certain capital, like when you talk about capital expenditure, let me start with that, is cost incurred to purchase assets whose value will be generated, or whose economic gain will generate economic gain for the company for more than one financial period. That's a capital expenditure. For normal operating expenditure is that normal business which will be their economic benefit to be felt during the current year. So previously, and before the tax amendment bill, tax laws had given businesses various incentives. Like you found that if you had invested more than 200 million, there was investment deduction, which now has been capped. For those who also wanted to invest in hotels, 150% investment deduction. For those who invested in satellite towns other than Nairobi, the major cities, there were another investment incentive they were given. So, but with the current tax amendment, the government has capped all those rates. Like you find previously, capital allowance, wear and tear allowance for furniture was 12.5%. With the current law is 10%. We have motor vehicles. We used to have heavy moving that's 7.5. Now that has been capped to 25%. And actually, the best way to put it is we have done an overhaul,
Paul,
of that schedule.
Paul.
Yes. Yes.
These percentages you are explaining, or you are, yes, these percentages you are mentioning, what are they? If you talk about 12% on furniture, what is it?
Okay, just to clarify that, is if you acquire a furniture for 10,000, that's an asset.
Yes.
That will benefit the company for more than one financial period. You are not allowed to claim the entire cost in that particular period. You are allowed to claim it in proportion. You get now that's why the case of percentage comes in. Previously it was 12.5, currently 10%. I think
assume I bought my assume I bought my I bought my office table.
Yes.
Yes, at 40,000.
Yes.
This is part of office furniture I'm using, and it's going to be used for so many years to come.
Yes.
Explain to me in terms of exemptions in regards even to the cost of this furniture versus the percentages you are mentioning. Let's be specific to this office furniture worth 40,000.
So once you acquire that asset, when it comes to tax, you don't claim a capital expenditure 100% entirely. So the government or the KRA, what it has done, it has tried to standardize. Like, for companies, they have I think we have come up with something like depreciation. Proper accounting policy will tell you that you should depreciate capital expenditure. So maybe you, as your office furniture, may decide to depreciate it at 10%. Someone else may decide to depreciate it at 15%. So but now remember, it's the same furniture. So Kenya Revenue Authority comes and says we should put a standard. So what do? We say if it's furniture, it's 10% for across any industry, any company. So the first question you should ask yourself when it comes to claiming that allowance is it a capital expenditure or is it a revenue expenditure? That's the current financial period. If it's a revenue, you expense the entire amount. If it's a capital expenditure, then you ask, what class does it fall? Or what types of expenditure is it? So if it goes for furniture, you know there's a certain allowance that will give it wear and tear. At what class? Maybe 10%. So it means for 40%, you will claim 10,000 the current financial period, 10,000 the other period, and so on and so forth. Previously, it used to be on a reducing balance. Previously.
But currently,
right.
Paul?
Yes.
Previously,
yes.
previously it was on reducing balance. Currently,
straight line.
okay, that is regardless of whether it is depreciating or unappreciating.
As in straight line, assets normally depreciate. What we mean is like you base it on reducing. Okay, when you say reducing, there's something we call depreciation, which is net of that. Straight line is based on cost, actual cost. Even if you are working on 10th year, it will be cost times a certain percentage. Reducing is normally cost minus accumulated depreciation. Now that's the balance. That's you base it. Those are the difference. That's the difference.
All right. So I think we can move now. We can move. So right. So I'll move. So maybe I want to we address one thing, and then we will now go to partnership on this session tonight. And the only thing I want we can address. The only thing I want to shed light is in terms of bankruptcy. Maybe Paul, can you shed light? Is bankruptcy something good for employers and bad for employees, or how does that bankruptcy law work?
That one I will address it on general level, but I'll tell you. Like 2 weeks ago, KRA managed to okay. What happens now? KRA, in case you're going bankrupt, KRA will now be listed as a preferential creditor. Like remember, what happens in the knowledge I have on bankruptcy, you have money, you have loans, and you're not able to pay the creditors. So they'll sue you. They'll take you to court, and the liquidation process will go on. Then you'll decide now company X is being liquidated. We'll set off all the entire assets of that company, and we'll pay now creditors who have, remember we have those preferential, like if like for a certain bank had secured their debt against a building, they will pass that building to be sold and they'll be given that money. So going onward, KRA now will be part of the preferential creditors. So once your assets have been sold, the first beneficiary among other secured creditors will be KRA. Okay. And also there's something that ask about capital gains tax, and I want to read something here. So the current provision that was passed, that was assented by the president, the act says, the act now brings to tax the foreign incomes that were previously exempt from capital gains tax. Shares in the stock or NSE, shares of a local authority, land which has been adjudicated and run. So, and what is the implication of this? So it means people who were like wanted to transact in a sea now will be afraid, because now you'll be taking home less, because definitely tax is more like an expense. It reduces your income, the incomes you make.
All right. Yeah, so we'll move. Maybe anyone, I'll want to start with Conrad. I hope he's now here. But we can actually ask questions in terms of those working outside the country and their income. They're bringing the income to this country, and also they are contributing to building the economy of Kenya. Maybe Conrad, you can ask a question on tax and regulation in their income.
I think, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my question was regarding to I was talking about the professional fees. There are people who probably receive professional fees from people or entities that are abroad. So they can't withhold your tax, or you are subject to taxation regime in their country because you are offering professional services in that country. So how is that,
Yes.
those professional fees, how are they taken, how are they
So you are saying professional fees?
that are working, maybe that are working in different countries
I'm working in
overseas.
Dubai.
When, yeah, for example, and how do you maybe how do countries is the tax handled in Kenya, or it's handled in Dubai, or it's handled in both countries?
So what happens is, in case you're a resident of Kenya, so when it comes to tax, they talk about whether you are resident or non-resident. So if you're resident, it means your incomes are taxed in Kenya wherever.
Proceed, Paul.
Called double taxation. Yes, double taxation treaties between different countries. Like we may have a double taxation treaty between us and Canada, between us and UK, so that, and the idea of this is to make sure that we do not double tax. You are not taxed twice. You are taxed in Kenya and you're taxed in UK. So once you're taxed in UK, we'll give you, and we have a double taxation treaty with UK. Will come here and will offer double taxation relief, and maybe you'll pay something little on top of that. So like, let's assume you have to pay 10,000 and we give you, and you pay 10,000 in form of tax in UK, and here in Kenya you're supposed to pay 15,000. There's a mechanism, you do double taxation, determine the double taxation relief, so that that tax you paid in the foreign country, you don't pay it twice. That's normally to cushion against taxing someone twice.
All right. So maybe we can move now to parting shots, and then maybe Alphonse, you can also address when we come to parting shots. Yeah, we can just move to parting shots, and
Maybe
then
before I give
Paul,
my parting
and
shot,
then the session.
tell us about avoidance and evasion of tax, lawfulness and
Oh,
unlawfulness of them.
tax avoidance is using the correct means to reduce your tax burden. Like you claim the proper reliefs, you claim an allowable expense, which so wholly relate to your business. Then we also have tax evasion. Now that one is illegal. Using illegal means to reduce your tax burden, like understating your income, overstating your expense, or claiming expense that do not relate to your business. Good example, you go purchase in supermarket your personal items, you come and use that receipt to reduce your VAT, because the receipt to home has what element. That's illegal, and that's tax evasion, and it's a criminal offense. Yes.
So somebody asked a question,
All right.
whether
So, Alphonse.
yes, I was telling Paul. Somebody asked a question that is Lady Jacqueline. Do expatriates pay tax to Kenya or to their countries of origin?
What happens we check whether you are resident or non-resident.
Resident.
And any income derived in Kenya is taxed. So expatriate will be taxed in Kenya. If he is a resident, he'll be taxed using the resident rates. And if he is non-resident, he'll be taxed using non-resident rate. And for this matter, non-resident, you have to have stayed in a country for at least, actually we say you must have a permanent home or establishment 183 days or an average of 122 for current and previous 2 years. So if you meet those, you have become a resident. Otherwise, you are non-resident. And I think most of them meet the resident status and they pay tax here.
Okay, my parting shot. But I've listened to you, Paul, very well. So one, I'm encouraged by your focus on the tax as a specialty area. But also, I've picked a few things. One of the things we do in this show is we want to make young people most efficient in their fields. I have learned of something recently. KRA has come with a training institution specifically for diploma in taxation issues.
Yes.
The good news about it is that it started some time back, but the good news is now you can do it online.
Yes.
My interaction with consultants, particularly in the taxation area and accounting, is that taxation has become a world of its own beyond accounting.
Yes, that's true.
So I request you in your own time to see how best you can do, even if it's the online course, because you will still do the same, so that KRA can give you preferential treatment, both for your growth in terms of personal knowledge and understanding, but also it will help you a big deal when it comes to handling businesses of any kind, because in the next 4 or 5 years, KRA is going to prefer the people they have trained to be the auditors of tax-related issues. But otherwise, you are doing a good job. There's a lot to do still, and thank you so much for coming to the show. But I'm looking forward to seeing you as one of the greatest consultants of our time in tax issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we move to Abok.
Yeah, Paul, thank you so much for finding time to be here tonight. Personally, I'm encouraged by even your courage to counter this particular issue of taxation. Indeed, it is a very diverse area. Just like Alphonse has told you, this is a discipline of its own, and therefore it needs a lot of attention, especially when now that you have decided to specialize in taxation. The future is very, very clear for you, that you need to get further training, you need to get further knowledge on this, so that you be all-rounded young man or a consultant. You'll never remain young anyway, so you remain all-rounded consultant. I am delighted that you have answered most of my questions. A few you have not answered. I don't know your age and your experience in this field, but maybe in this show, it also gives you a challenge on what to go and look for, even in your after this particular show, so that next time when you meet such a question or you meet such a concern, then you should be in a position to handle it. But I want to tell you that nobody knows everything, and therefore you're in the right path, and the future is very, very bright. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Right. So we go to Conrad. Conrad, I hope your mic is good. Now you can give your parting shot.
Sorry for going. I had some network challenges. So my parting thought is just to Paul. It has been a very informative session. I've had so many informative questions, and one of them, as we have to learn new things about a taxation measure, it's a very broad area, as Abok has said. and a very detailed area, and with such good people coming in to tell us more about taxation, to talk about taxation, because it's one of the least understood areas. So for me to Paul is just to tell him, as Abok has said, continue doing what you're doing, continue learning, you're in the right track, and it was an informative session today. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Conrad. So we go to Paul. Paul, you can give your final remarks and the way forward.
Thank you, Patrick, for giving me the opportunity. I have to say this is the first time I've been in a show. I've learned a great deal. Interacting with most of you who are more experienced in your fields. You've tried, we've tried our best, and tax is a very wide field. It's not exhaustive. There's so much I have to learn. Remember, I'm just young in this career, but just now that I've decided to specialize in tax, it takes always a first step. And the truth is, tax will not be conclusive. There's so much that's out there. People need to be taught, taxpayers, and I hope government and KRA at least take its time to create awareness. People need knowledge. The reason people are being penalized is they don't know, not because like they do not want to comply. It's they don't know, and the least government and KRA can do is to train people. And thank you for everyone who listened. I also wanted to clarify one thing. The least amount for payers of one is 28,800, and capital allowances it's on reducing balances, not straight rate. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Paul, for finding time for us. Yeah, it's really good because we are doing part of our sensitization, even on this platform, to everyone, and how maybe we can move forward, maybe to a new Kenya after post-corona. So I'll say thank you, and also our lady in London, Jackie. I want to give a shout out. Asante sana for your question. It's always a pleasure. We're looking forward to have you on the big seat maybe this week. So, and everyone who asked the questions, everyone who participated and watching, thank you very much, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow. So, yeah, you have a good night. Yes, good night, everyone. Asante sana.
Night.
Good night.
Right.
Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana uso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana uso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami Ilondoloze unanishika damu